Chapter 1. Prologue, First Meeting. You are listening at FameTV.info. She looked at the guy in front of her and frowned. She looked at the white shirt that wasn't white anymore since she spilt her coffee all over him in her rush to get to her lecture. I am so sorry about that, she said while trying to wipe off the coffee, which she realized was pretty dumb since the shirt will be stained regardless. Looking up at the tall guy she bumped into, she saw that he was just standing there looking at her with a raised eyebrow. She came to another realization at that moment, that he was actually very good looking. However, she didn't have the luxury of admiring his looks, so she took out her wallet trying to compensate him, and even before she opened it he walked away. Frozen in place, she considered calling him back, but he looked like he didn't care and she didn't have the time to run after him, so she rushed to the lecture hall. She was so thankful when she saw the lecturer hadn't arrived yet and picked a random seat and sat down. With a sigh, she mentally prepared herself for the lecture, knowing it will at least take 3 hours. 3 hours later she walked out of class thinking about going home. She didn't want to get a coffee, but she needed it since she still needed to unpack her bags. She went to the cafeteria and ordered one and decided to sit down and take her time drinking it as she browsed through her social media, since she didn't want a repeat of what happened that morning. She had a smile on her face as she looked at the videos that she was tagged in with her friends, as she obviously couldn't burst out laughing like an idiot while she was sitting alone. A couple of minutes later someone asked if the chairs on her table were occupied. She looked at them and shook her head and continued browsing on her phone. After a couple of minutes, she felt someone tap her on the arm, and it was one of the girls who joined her table. "Excuse me, hi, I'm Liana, are you new?" the girl asked Jen. Jen stared at her for a couple of seconds and smiled back, giving her hand to shake. "Hi, I'm Jen, and yes, I'm new here." After the brief greeting, Jen thought that it would be over, but the girl introduced her other friend, whom she learned was called Nancy, and they kept talking to her about the university and everything like they weren't first years too. Jen just kept smiling and nodding, and at some point she had zoned out completely until Liana asked her where she was staying. Then she came back to her senses, where she just told them the general area of where she had currently moved to. "Can you give me more details, since we're going to the party this weekend and we'll be picking you up," Liana said with a smile on her face. Jen's eyes widened. She felt like crying. She wanted to turn them down, but looking at their expectant faces she didn't have the heart to. Wondering how the one-sided conversation could leave her in this situation, she gave them her address and went ahead to tell them she needed to unpack, and left after they promised that they would help and insisted on getting her phone number that she ended up sharing with them. With a sigh she picked up her stuff and marched out of the cafeteria. Listen to the full novel at FameTV.info, direct link in the description.